Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the council meeting on April the 8th, 2024. Individuals interested in participating in this meeting were able to register online using the delegation registration form at www.kitchener.ca/delegation or via email at delegation@kitchener.ca. Any written comments received prior to the commencement of this evening's meeting have been circulated with members of council and will form part of the public record. I'd now like to invite everyone to stand as they're able for the singing of our national anthem. Thank you, everyone. That rendition of O Canada by KW Glee was originally performed virtually for our Canada Day special on July 1st, 2020, and we've been using that version since for our council meetings. I will give them a plug and say that they've got a couple shows coming up at the Centre in the Square in May, so those who want to see the current classes of KW Glee performing, that's your opportunity. Before we begin this evening's meeting, I'd like to acknowledge that we're gathering on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize our responsibility to serve as stewards for the land and honor the original caretakers who came before us. Our community is enriched by the enduring knowledge and deep-rooted traditions of the diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit in Kitchener today. On motion by Councillor Debbie Chapman, the minutes of the regular meeting held March 18th, 2024, and the special meetings held March 18th and March 2025, as mailed to the mayor and councillors, be accepted. Those in favour? Opposed? That's carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is on the item for notice of motion by Councillor Chapman regarding parking rates on Brom Street lands, as myself and my family own property that's very close proximity, almost adjacent to the said parcel. I'll recuse myself from the decision.
Okay, thank you. There is some communication referred to file with respect to flag requests, both by the Canadian Parental Alienation Foundation and the Grand River Power and Sail Squadron. I'd now like to take a moment to acknowledge, just hold on, I lost it now. Just give me 1 second. Acknowledge a member of our senior staff. This evening, I'd like to recognize Justin Reedman, who recently was recognized by the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators in their Long Service Recognition Award program. This program recognizes staff in specifically management positions, namely those reporting to the CAO, in 5-year increments. This year, we're celebrating Justin's 10th anniversary. Justin joined the City of Kitchener in June of 2013 as the Director of Transportation Services. He then went on to hold the position of Interim Executive Director for Infrastructure from January 11, 2016 until April 2nd, 2018. On April 3rd, Justin moved into his current role of General Manager of Development Services. Over his years at the City, Justin has worked on a number of significant projects, including the Development Services Review, to streamline approval processes and strengthen team collaboration, something that even earned the mention of the Premier when they launched Bill 23, implementation of the city's cycling grid, and innovations in community engagement with a strong focus on citizen deliberation. One of the things that, when I think of Justin, that I think of his passion about has been his leadership in our Housing for All strategy, a foundational document that guides us in our work that we continue to do in the space of housing across the housing continuum, and I know Justin has been a strong leader and advocate on that. I'd like to thank you, Justin, for your thoughtful and professional attitude that you bring to your work, your passion for sustainable planning and community building, and your continued support of your team over the course of your career. You're an integral part of our corporate leadership team, and I know that I, Council, and your colleagues look forward to continuing to work with you in the years ahead. Dan, did you want to add anything? Oh, I guess I need to turn you on, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Urbanovic. I think you've summarized Justin's history with the city well. As I was thinking about what to share tonight, I thought about a quote that I read many years ago, which said that one of the illusions of life is that the present hour is not the critical, decisive one. And when I think about Mr. Reedman's contributions to the City of Kitchener over the past 10 years, I think one of his greatest contributions is the way that he's helped us to recognize that we indeed are facing critical, deciding hours in the work that we do each and every day. I think about that in his work on city building and housing, on climate change and sustainability, and even on building team culture here at the city. And so I'm grateful for Justin's leadership as we face indeed urgent and consequential issues each and every day. I'm fortunate to be his colleague and to have him as a part of our senior leadership team, and so I join you, Mayor Urbanovic, in congratulating him on this 10-year honor tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chapman. So, colleagues, please join me in congratulating Justin on his impressive achievement. Okay, we'll now move into delegations. Now, just for council's sake and those that of the viewing audience, we're going to deal with the items that have delegations now, and then we will and decide on those issues, and then we're going to go back into caucus because we haven't finished caucus yet, and we need to do that because there are some items from caucus that potentially need to come back out to the rest of this evening's council meeting. So with that, before we move into delegations, I'd like to remind all delegations that they have 5 minutes to make their presentation. While public participation is welcomed at meetings, we're committed to engaging in respectful and constructive dialogue with members of the community, and Conducting yourself in any of the following manners may result in the immediate removal from the meeting: interrupting the mayor, councillors, staff, or other delegations, derogatory statements about the mayor, councillors, staff, or others, and hate speech or defamatory comments. One last reminder for delegations: please do not take offense if following your presentation there are no questions from council. This is council's time to really listen and reflect upon the opinions and ideas that you share with us, our community members. So with that, we'll move to our first item, 6.1, the Kitchener Indoor Recreation Complex. And we have a shared delegation from Tim Hart and Frank Hiver from the Kitchener Soccer Club. Gentlemen, welcome.
Great, thank you very much. Mayor and councillors, it's a pleasure to be here this evening. For some of you, you've known me over the years, 18 years and counting, and all the conversations we've had, you've always heard me saying one thing over the past number of years, and that's the quality of our indoor and outdoor fields, which has always been a little bit behind. I want to thank you for what we've done with the outdoor fields. It's been spectacular, and this is a dream come true. I never thought I was going to be alive to actually see it, and I can tell you as a soccer person and soccer fan, having a full-size FIFA indoor soccer field in Kitchener-Waterloo is remarkable, spectacular, unbelievable. Thank you for that. The other thing, while I have your attention, is just for as you're planning sports facilities across the city, how important it is to develop future leaders. On the field, some of our soccer athletes become coaches, become referee, and they do develop into future leaders. And the other key thing to keep in mind, it was a long time ago that I came to Canada. I didn't speak a word of English, and I was a young boy that played soccer, and that was how I was able to integrate into this beautiful community and country. So it has an impact on some very young kids. Before I hand it over to Tim, there are some people to thank. Mayor Rinovich, you said as a councillor that every young child who wants to play soccer should be able to play soccer. That was many, many years ago. It has played through my mind. I thank you very much for keeping on your agenda, for pushing this through. It means the world to the soccer kids. The councillors, thank you very much for all the work. I know this does not happen just overnight. A big thank you. And to the city staff, Michael, May, and Bob, thank you so much for pushing, sharing in our meetings, and just keeping the ball rolling. A big thank you to Tim, who on a day-to-day basis keeps the club afloat, and to all the board of directors of the club. Thank you very much, and I can't wait to see the doors open.
Tim, over to you.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Frank. Before I get started, as way of introduction, my name's Tim Hart. I'm the executive director at the Kitchener Soccer Club. I've been there for approximately 14 years. It's been a gap stop for me, but 14 is a good number, right, as we stand today. I'm going to open with recently MLSE appointed a new president, and I thought it was very profound, his words in his opening presser, which he said, post-COVID, sports has galvanized communities around the world. It holds dreams, experiences, and family joy. And I think in the uncertain times through COVID and coming out of COVID, or pardon me, during COVID, it's one of the few things that probably kept people talking, not so much at the water cooler, but certainly over text, internet, Zoom, Teams, anything else you can think of. I know in my household, with a large family, we talked often about different things. I just thought it was worthwhile mentioning from that. So I guess it's up to me to change. There we go. Okay, inside the numbers, I'm just going to give you an idea of the massive impact that we anticipate this will have inside the soccer club. Clearly today, we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 30,000 plus in our community. And that is stated on the second line with 7,000 current plus players inside the Kitchener Soccer Club that are registered at different categories inside our organization. However, if you extrapolate that with mom and dad, perhaps a sibling, plus our volunteers and officials, you're in that neighborhood of 30,000 plus pretty quickly. So that's how we derive that type of number to walk around with us as we're talking to different people. One of the things this building definitely would have an impact and will have an impact with, each year we experience what is unfortunately a waiting list. And that's very important to us. It's one we try to shield with the families in Kitchener, one that we try to continue to develop and ensure we have some type of home for them to play at, as it is in our sport. But currently today we have 500 plus children or athletes that cannot play on a regular yearly annual basis. So with this new opportunity or platform for us, we are hoping that we will take a great look at the 500 and do away with that type of list and provide a home for everybody to play soccer. 800 families traveling, that is in essence of today, because of our club being the 7,000, we do have different categories, be it high performance, academy, as well as rep or competitive. Those individuals represent about 800 families in our community. Those individuals today travel outside the city for training. Predominantly, the training is in the winter months, but not exclusively just a winter. Obviously, they play indoor as well throughout the summer months. But the reality is we put 800 families at risk on the road every winter to train somewhere. And this opportunity, or the Kitchener Indoor Recreational Complex, will allow them to stay virtually at home as it is and inside the city for safe travel and an experience that I know will just wow them. And then finally, our current situation at Bud Park. It's been alive since the 70s. If you've been there, I wouldn't necessarily say it's tired. Our partners at the city have done a great job in refreshing whenever they can and whatever is necessary, but it is a very small surface. It's one that's not even near or close to a quarter of what the next facility will show us. And to that, we're very proud. I will take any questions at the end, but I'm going to speed it up due to time. Finally, success factors, proactively. This will essentially handle the demand that we see currently inside the city of Kitchener to be able to provide this particular sport, soccer, to any or all that wishes to play inside the city. Nextly, the large field that has been looked at and coming to fruition, hopefully. It'll be divided into 4 and will give the opportunity for multiple games to be going at once and other users. I do respect the fact that we are one user, not any single user, but we'll be able to get everybody on the field. Nextly, it will provide the training needs that we need, that we see and hear of with the track above it. It will enable that we're able to do a proper warm-up or a proper training session, which is very important to the club. We'll be able to generate economic gains, obviously, for the city, pardon me on that, for the city when we host and bring other municipalities and cities in for tournaments, et cetera. Very important. We haven't been able to do that for many years, in all honesty. It's been over 10 years because of the current facility. And then finally, or not finally, but it will enable us to enhance our relationship. You may or may not be aware, we're one of 6 clubs in the province that have a direct affiliation with TFC, MLSC, and MLS. So there's a 3-way partnership with the Kitchener Soccer Club. We reside with 5 other cities that provide a direct pathway for our athletes, our families, your constituents, to make their way to potentially a greater game if they have that solely in mind. And then finally, with a year-round facility, because it will be air-conditioned, and again, I'm not going to draw too much to Bud, but if you were in there, you could cook a small pot roast in the summer. But this will allow us the opportunity to play year-round. We are massively excited about this. I may not show in my facial or body language, but I can tell you we are excited to no end and very proud to echo Frank's comments, to be working with our city partners and those and yourselves that potentially will make this come alive. So with that, I'll take any question and say thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And we have several questions for you. Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for coming in. As excited as you are, I can assure you that we are all excited about this too. We want to thank you for the years of dedication to the youth in our community for soccer. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the side benefits that come from playing soccer. We hear often of the hockey community, like we recall the tragedy of the Humboldt Broncos and how the entire hockey community all over the world came together. But there's other stories of teams that are doing food drives and learning just a better understanding of each other. Can you explain maybe some of the side benefits that you have seen from boys and girls playing soccer here in Kitchener?
Well, there is one recent situation that comes to mind, and it's most unfortunate. We have currently today, we have a young 18-year-old girl, playing in our U18 program. Over the last couple of years, unfortunately, both mom and dad have succumbed to illness, and she was very worried where she would go, what she would do. The management of the team have somewhat drawn together, and of course they approached the Kitchener Soccer Club to say what possibly can happen, because the stream that she's in is not necessarily cheap, but it is a sum of money. And we immediately, Dave said, undisputedly, you will never pay another nickel as long as you play here. We believe that every child that wants to play should play, and should have the opportunity to play at the level they can aspire to. Not just play, but play at that level they can aspire to, regardless of financial means. Beyond that, I hear consistently in my office of leaders or leaderships and individuals that come back to me to say, it was the greatest experience that I had to enable me to work inside an environment today that might be team or orientated towards solving issues, be it IT, be it finance, be it medicine, be it science, whatever that may be, that knowingly that we gave them a lift and the ability to go. And then the final thing I would say, and this is more of a comment than it is actual, just knowing, as a sports person myself, as a young person, it was an outlet. It may not be always a great day. You may not always have a great day either. But to our youth and the issues that they surround themselves today, it gives them a great outlet to move forward.
Great. And you mentioned the partnerships that you have with TFC, MLSC, and MLS. With this facility, how do you see these partnerships enhancing? Do you see maybe an opportunity for someone from TFC to come down and do clinics and really inspire the kids in our community?
I absolutely believe that. In fact, that's already happening, but it's happening at Bud. And once they walk into this particular facility, from what I've seen, it parallels or surpasses potentially what TFC Academy works with. That's not to say let's go backwards at all. Let's keep it moving forward. But at the end of the day, this is a spectacular looking facility that will give us the benefits to continue on those relationships with TFC.
Great. And if there's any chance of getting Christine Sinclair there when we open it up, it would be awesome. Thank you.
I've had a few words with her, so I might have an in on that.
There you go. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you so much, Frank and Tim, for coming in tonight. You know, your love of the game, the community, the kids, and just what you're doing here just really shines through. So it's really exciting to listen to you and listen about this new and hear about this new facility, which is so exciting. I want to ask you a question about what I know about this game and who plays it in this community. Is both my daughters have played for Kitchener Minor Soccer many years ago. They're quite old now. They wouldn't mind me saying that. But what we see is the equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility that we're providing in this sport here. I've always said that the beautiful game, actually, it's one of the most equitable things in terms of the amount of money that it costs to play and the equipment and that you need. But maybe you can talk about that and yeah.
Definitely, from an inclusivity perspective, We promote that. If you view our website, you come and see us at the office, you talk to us. With all of our friends that come in and look for registration. Some may need financial support. We work with them to ensure that occurs, as well as finding a great place for them to play. We're very open to all inside the city. In fact, we do operate, one of the categories we have is for our all abilities in the city. So we run a program for all abilities as well. We just want to make sure that we touch all of the different categories from high performance to recreational play to ensure, to clone what you said, for a very reasonable price. Soccer's still that, with a pair of shin pads and cleats, which could go upwards of $30. And then we provide the rest for those children to play. It's a great experience. And I would encourage any and all counselors to visit Bud Park on a Monday to Friday evening. Please come early, because the only place you can park is across the street. And that'll ensure that you can get in the park, but it is packed. It is jammed. And boy, what a sight. It's very heartwarming to me as well. I have grandchildren that play, obviously, and it's very warming to me to see that and to be able to follow their path as well. So to the point of inclusivity, we are what I believe to be very inclusive. We share all information at all of our friends or communities inside Kitchener. And yeah, so it's been a good road to go, right? It's what you have to do to make sure that you're solving everybody's opportunity to play.
Well, it's amazing to see so many girls and boys all participating as well. So thank you for all the work that you do. This is really exciting, and have a great season.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Ioannidis.
Thanks, Mayor Urbanovic, and thank you for coming in. I guess my question would be with regards to economic development and how a facility like this will help support huge benefits to the city. With soccer.
Yeah, no. I touched on it just very briefly. The one thing that comes to mind is hosting large events that can essentially put the city on the map, and certainly allows us an opportunity to share with other municipalities and clubs to play against. Obviously, it's an internal thing for us that we'll have that competition. But for the city, it'll be front line and center. This will be, from what I know and see, this will be the catalyst of all buildings that I'm aware of in this province and outside this province, inside the country. I've been from Vancouver to St. John's, mind you, not with soccer, but in my previous, before retirement. But at the end of the day, this is a spectacular facility, and I think the city will be well rewarded with not only soccer, but I think it speaks to a number of other users, and I think your play on that will be much or equal to what the soccer will be able to provide for the city. But I'm confident it will be well earmarked, and people will want to come and see it for sure. And it'll serve us and yourselves very well.
Okay, great. And I want to thank you too, and Kitchener Soccer Club in general, because if it wasn't for the dedication of your staff and the passion, I known Frank before I was on council, and the passion that all of you bring, and help facilitating the huge demand for soccer. So I think you guys deserve some testament as well with regards to having this facility be shaped in the way it is. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Stretch.
Yes, thank you. So I was a Kitchener minor soccer player. I played at Bug Park indoor. You was one of the only girls who played, and when I was a kid, I think there were 4 of us in the league, so I had my own change room. And the league was one of the only places that let girls play with boys. Then I went on and played as a Kitchener Cat long ago. And then, went on to play lots of other sports. It was definitely a foundational sport in my career in building, and was really pleased to hear Cindy's name said, and, you know, with women's sports, we've seen Caitlin Clark take off. You mentioned some of the numbers here, which are huge, but I'm wondering about the ratio of men, girls and boys, men and women playing.
So we are seeing, today, if we were to do a complete cross mix, it'd be a 55-45 split. We see 55% boys, 45% female contingency playing. And it's somewhat equal. It does move periodically, and obviously, I'm not here to preach demographics, but clearly, it will take some shifts, and really depends on family planning that will, you know, decide that. But at the end of the day, we're in that 55-45 currently.
Great, and that's across men, women, and kids playing?
We're here to represent just the youth
Just
play
the
in
youth,
Kitchener.
okay.
So that represents anything from U3 to U18.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's multiple user groups at the adult level.
Great, I think, so my other question, which I think Councillor Ioannidis got to, but the tournament possibilities.
Yes.
So for winter tournaments, does a facility like this equal being able to host more tournaments for our local clubs?
Absolutely.
And in the summer?
Absolutely.
And
In fact, we're
and
talking
fall?
about, pardon me,
And in the fall?
each of the 4 seasons.
Thank you.
It's a year-round facility. In fact, we're speaking to staff about ensuring that we play some of our outdoor games indoors, especially with our little ones, 3s and 4s, where Saturday morning or weeknight may not be the best of weather for them, but this will offer an absolute slam dunk weather facility for them.
Great,
Right?
thank you.
Those appear to be all of the questions, so let me say thank you, merci beaucoup, to both of you and to Steve and everyone else on both the board, past and present, and staff for all of your many years. I think you guys are saying you've both been on the board for like 18 years, and Tim was going to retire after the first 3 and hit 14, so now you're well on the way towards seeing the building open. So with that, just want to, on behalf of council, thank all of you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, Councillor Johnson, you want to bring forward the recommendation? Go ahead.
It is being moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dave Schneider, that the report of the Community and Infrastructure Services Committee dated March 25th, 2024, listed as items 7.2.a to 7.2.i on the agenda this date be adopted.
Okay. We can do a recorded vote, but I'll first allow people to make any comments. Nobody's making any comments? Councillor Ioannidis?
Sorry, I thought I clicked in. Anyways, I guess since I missed our last meeting with regards to this committee, I just wanted to add a few comments and just be very brief. This is definitely going to be a monumentous decision for this community. It's going to be a huge win for this community. The demand could not be any greater for such a facility as this. In fact, I think knowing we were having this decision, I think it was even in the paper as a comment from a resident in Waterloo saying we don't do enough, and then I was like, well, you just wait in a week. In my head, you just wait in a week's time, you're going to see what Kitchener's going to do. So hopefully that resident from Waterloo is thanking us today for creating a facility. So again, this is a huge win for us, and again, the team did an excellent job with regards to doing this through a new procurement process that will helpfully keep the cost the way it is supposed to be. So I'm looking forward to this and seeing how this project is just going to blossom into something that is fantastic. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Councillor Ioannidis. Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the fact that this is not going to cost municipal taxpayers a single cent. Just goes to show how hard our staff has worked over this last period of time to put this together. It's going to be, I can't wait for it to open. I was going to ask a question of how to get my 5-year-old to kick the ball more than once per game, but hopefully that comes in due time with the new facility. But again, kudos to staff for putting this together, and I can't wait till 2026. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Deneau. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I made these comments during the committee. I think it's important to repeat them again because it can't be said enough that the cost of this is nothing to the taxpayer to build. It's because it's community building community. The housing that we are seeing across the board, the development that we see, sometimes it feels gracious when we see these tall towers, but these tall towers are going to go ahead and provide the development charges that will fund a $140 million facility. The things that are going in this place are not necessarily just to feed and support new development. We needed, hearing from Tim and Frank, we needed a facility like this decades ago. It's just now we're able to afford it because the development that's happening. So once again, I repeat, it's community building community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. I'll just make a few brief comments. First of all, to thank everybody who's been involved in getting the project this far. We obviously had many staff involved, and I think if we started trying to list everyone, I would never get through all of them, and no doubt would miss some. But I do want to acknowledge our project manager, Osama Siddiqui, who unfortunately couldn't be here this evening. Our GMs, Denise McGoldrick and Michael May, for their leadership on it. Bob Shane, the Director of Sport, and his predecessor, Kim Kugler, and also a number of other staff who are here in the room and watching, as well as consultants. As has been noticed, this project's being built through IPD, Integrated Project Delivery. It's the first time that we are doing this. And so far the experience has been nothing short of positive, and I'm sure based on everything I've been able to learn about it, that will continue to be the case going forward. I too am so pleased that we're able to build a project of this magnitude without impacting property taxpayers. But I think it is important to acknowledge, as has been mentioned, that this is being funded through the growth that's happening in our community. But there has been some federal and provincial money that we have received to this project thus far. And, we continue to learn of new programs that we may be able to apply for and get some additional dollars. And rest assured, our grant writing team is working, how Santa's owls work really busy in December. That's our grant writing team all the time, trying to make sure we get things off to Queen's Park in Ottawa as opportunities present themselves. And of course, we've heard from a number of our sporting community partners. Soccer this evening, we've heard from them in writing. We've heard from cricket in writing, and others who are just absolutely thrilled with what's being built. Because it not only will serve the residents of probably the fastest growing greenfield area of the city, Ward 5, Councillor O'Dooney's ward, but it's important to remember that this facility will in fact be serving the entire city in terms of the amenities that it has, and so it'll be a win-win for everyone. So just on behalf of council, I do want to thank everyone who has been part of the process, sporting groups, community partners, construction partners, and most of all our staff team who have been working tirelessly. Now the fun starts. I mean, we'll be getting a grant, assuming council raises their hands today, which I fully expect they will in light of the vote at committee. There'll be a groundbreaking next month for this project, and it'll be well underway, and that's one of the cool things about IPD is we're not starting the process, we're well into the process now, and we'll be able to get going right away. So with that, a recorded vote has been called. And that is carried unanimously. Well done, everybody. Thank you very much. Okay. So normally we don't allow that in the council chamber, but considering this has been the largest project in the city's history, I'll give it a minor exemption. So with that, we'll move on to item 6.2, and it's a dog designation appeals for Freddie and Burton. We have 3 delegations, Sophia Freddie, Mariana Jones, and then Cody Burton. And so Ms. Freddie and Ms. Jones are here for the designation pertaining to Miko, and Cody Burton is here for the designation pertaining to Broly. So I'll ask Sophia Freddie to come forward first. Welcome, Ms. Freddie.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Today I'm here to discuss the designation of Miko, which is my dog. Sorry. What do I click? Excuse me, I just don't know how to change the slide.
Can staff, there we go.
Thank you. I would like to highlight some of the parts of the definition of a dangerous dog. In the definition, it's highlighted how the absence of any mitigation factor is present, and I would like to highlight how, in fact, there were mitigation factors. There was a dog fight, there was Gordy barking, unknown dog approaching Broly and Miko, as well as the bite to Miko's owner, and possible a little mimetic behavior. Also, it's highlighted how the dog has demonstrated a propensity, tendency, or disposition to be aggressive, whereas Miko shows and has no history of being an aggressive dog. Next slide, please. I mentioned in the mitigation factors the allomimetic behavior. I just want to give a quick definition of what that is. It's kind of like a pack mentality that occurs between animals. So in our case, Miko could have been compromised in his choice and decided to go into the fight because of the other 2 dogs being present there. I just wanted to show this picture as a proof of the mitigation factor of his owner getting bit. Also, I would like to highlight some of the parts in the potentially dangerous dog definition. It states that the aggression must happen anywhere other than the property of the owner, whereas Miko's fight happened in the front yard of the duplex of Cody Burton, which was owner's property, and also behaviors such as growling or snarling, which are a common behavior that a dog might have, even if he's not a reactive dog. Barking is a way that dogs use to communicate, so that could have been the situation there. I would like to revise some of the points in the notice of decision of February 28th in Exhibit 3 on page 4. In point N, Miko is being asked to be sterilized. Next slide, please. If the sterilization is being considered as a form to protect from unwanted breeding, I just wanted to clarify that there is no intention from Miko's owners to breed him, and also an unwanted litter will not occur as Miko is closely monitored. If the sterilization is being considered as a form to decrease aggression, I just wanted to say testosterone and aggression have been proven to not have a correlation. In Exhibit 4, there's a study conducted by Dr. Jen where it's being shown how there's no impact from neutering a dog and his aggression. I would also like to revise point P, Q, and R. In this points, Miko is being restricted in his social life. He's being asked to be caged in the presence of children and also be separated from anyone that comes to my home that doesn't live there. I would like to report that Miko has never displayed a tendency of aggression towards human or children, and he's always been very welcoming when strangers have approached in our home. And this was also witnessed by Officer Sarah Canavan from Humane Society, which in her reports after meeting Miko states that he displayed a friendly body language, and she was able to give him treats and pet him at his door. Also in the picture previously shown, it's a situation where a stranger came in our home, and Miko was completely calm and just sitting there. In the past weeks, I've collaborated with Mariana Jones. She's a behavioral specialist, and she specializes in aggressive behavior in dogs. She conducted an assessment of Miko, and after closely monitoring and going with him on walks, she came to the conclusion, next slide please, that Miko should not be classified as a potentially dangerous or dangerous dog, as it does not show a tendency or disposition to aggress again or be aggressive. Her whole report is present in exhibit number 5, and we also have Mariana present today to speak after me. Lastly, I would like to state that I will no longer use tools such as prong collars or electric collars as previously done before from other owners with Miko, as they have been proven to cause pain and could probably have a correlation with aggression. So I just wanted to say those measurements will no longer be used. Just to summarize, what I would like to ask the committee is to consider Miko's behavior and new considerations that I brought today, and remove the titles that were given to him, as I do not believe he should be classified as dangerous or potentially dangerous dog. Now I would like to give the word to Mariana Jones.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Jones?
Thank you so much. And I appreciate that you're letting me do this virtually.
Can I just ask the clerk to start the clock again, please? Thank you.
Thank you so much again for letting me be a designate for Sophia. My name is Mariana Jones, but feel free to call me MJ if you have any questions. I'm a Victoria Stilwell Academy certified dog trainer, a Milena DiMartini certified separation anxiety trainer, a Kim Brophy certified family dog mediator, and after graduating with distinction from Michael Scoccio's Aggression in Dogs Master Course, I specialize in aggressive behavior. My two main areas of focus when working with any dog is ensuring that dog guardians understand the hierarchy of dog needs, which is crucial to the emotional and physical well-being of our dogs and to the human and canine relationship. And secondly, learning why a dog is displaying the behavior they are through careful analysis of their legs, which is learning environment, genetics, and self. I'm a canine behavior consultant that views canine behavior as what it is, behavior. The very definition of behavior is the way in which an animal acts in response to a particular situation or stimulus. And another definition, just to expand a little bit on what Sophia said when she was talking about the allomimetic behavior, in addition to what Sophia already said, it's also an alternate definition is a behavior that is more intense response when others around an individual are engaged in the same behavior. It's often referred to as synchronous behavior and imitative behavior and social facilitation. So after reading all of the notes provided in the case that Sophia gave to me, in my opinion, I believe that Miko's behavior was indeed more intense during the incident than he's ever displayed before, and only approached the fray after seeing his housemate, the other dog involved in the incident, and his then owner on the ground, therefore synchronizing his behavior with his housemate. With respect to Miko himself, I'd like to provide you with a few details of my assessment and prognosis. I have a risk assessment and prognosis document that I complete after assessing dogs. In this case, I observed Miko on a walk initially. He listened very well to his guardians when they called his name for attention. He didn't react at all, let alone overreact to triggers that most dogs that I work with do, and was generally a loose and wiggly dog the entire walk. One of the things that I always listen to is canine body communication. This is the first way that our dogs communicate to us. From their nostrils to the tip of their tail, they're communicating how they're feeling. I could go on for 5 hours about body language, but since I only have 5 minutes, I'll move on. After our initial walk, whilst still on a leash, which is harder for some dogs because they don't have the freedom or choice to move away from their trigger, and choice is one of their most important functional needs, I introduced a large stuffed dog named Carl that I use for all of my assessments. It's a safer way to watch a dog's body language if there's any mention of reactivity or aggression. I observed that Miko approached really cautiously and slowly. His whole body, from sniffing with his right nostril, which is their bias, to his tuck tail, he was displaying anxiety, stress, and or fear. He retreated and approached several times, and because I didn't want to stress him out more, we headed inside their home. I was able to enter his home without any signs of aggressive behavior, no barking, growling. He actually sat and let me take off my coat. He took treats from my hand, and when I sat on the floor, he tried to actually position his behind to sit in my lap. Now, he's a big boy, so you can imagine. I would never have entered his home, let alone sit on the floor, if I had a single fear of him overreacting to me. I also, in addition to observing with my own eyes, watched several videos of Miko's behavior with other dogs. In one particular video, a very informative and telling video for me from a behavior perspective, he was being chased and humped by another dog, and Miko still communicated very nicely to said dog that he didn't want to engage. He twisted his back toward the other dog, he ran away, he even picked up a toy and offered it to the other dog to play with the toy instead of getting chased and humped. I've watched several other videos of Miko playing with dogs of all sizes and breeds and ages, and I observed that he is very adept at handicapping himself, which means helping him to play with smaller dogs. Out of the dozen items on my questionnaire that I reviewed, out of a score of possible 52, Miko scored an 18. In my professional opinion, Miko is not a dangerous or potentially dangerous dog when he's in the care of Sophia and Nolan. We've discussed at length the aversive tools and aversive training methods, and my assessment of them, which is also really, really important part of a prognosis, is that they are all on board to no longer use the aversive tools and the aversive methods.
Ms.
I'm
Jones, if I can
confident,
ask you to
and
wrap up,
although
please.
any dog can bite, Miko is not a danger and poses no potential danger to our community. Thank you. Sorry for going over.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions of either Ms. Freddy or Ms. Jones? Okay, there don't appear to be any questions. Thank you to both of you for coming in this evening. And then our next delegation is Cody Burton.
He's not present today.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So, who is bringing this forward? Councillor Deneau, and we can click in, please. And if you can just note, if you're bringing the recommendation forward, that in the second last line, the words after with dog with modified conditions, the words be ratified and confirmed needs to be added. I don't know, do you want me to, I think staff will just give it to you?
That the decision of the Dog Designation Appeal Committee regarding an appeal filed by C. Burton, wherein the committee affirms the dangerous dog designation applied to the dog Broly by the Humane Society of Kitchener-Waterloo and Stratford, Perth, be ratified and confirmed with the modified conditions as outlined in Corporate Services Department Report COR-2024-113, and further, that the decision of the Dog Designation Appeal Committee regarding an appeal filed by C. Burton and S. Freddy, wherein the committee substitutes the dangerous dog designation applied to the dog Nico by the Humane Society of Kitchener-Waterloo and Stratford Perth, and assigns the designation of potentially dangerous dog with modified conditions be ratified and confirmed as outlined in Corporate Services Department Report COR-2024-113.
Okay, and that's moved by yourself and seconded by Councillor Johnson. Any discussion? Sorry, Councillor Chapman.
It's a question. So I'm not on the appeal board, but I just wondered, was the comments made by the trainer and the assessor, were they all shared with the board? No. So this is all new information. Oh.
Councillor Michaud.
Yeah, the fact that the trainer just gave a testimony and the committee didn't have that information before, it's kind of like we're making a decision here that you didn't have all the experience, qualified background of designating a dog.
Councillor Johnson, are you wanting to comment or respond? You can click in, please. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. We had the witness, we had the I'm going to say defendant. I'm not sure if that's how we would put it. We had the Humane Society here who had who also made comments on that as well. So I don't know who. I mean, this is someone who the defendant has brought in. I don't know about them coming in to make a decision here. We made a decision with the information that we had at the time, including all the pictures and including both people's statements.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Deneau, did you want to respond as well? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, and thanks for the thank you for the question, Councillor Michaud. And I understand that concern, but at the same time, if I'm correct, this incident took place, I believe, late last year, early October, and so our committee was in February, early March, and so between the months of October and end of February, early March, when we had the committee. There was ample time to bring on such an individual to testify at that point in time, and that didn't take place. And so you're right, if that information was presented, maybe there's a different outcome, but the fact is that that information wasn't presented at that point in time, and we were taking the information that we were given by the witnesses, by the Humane Society, by the defendant as well. And so I just want to state that there was plenty of time to have an individual, such as the lady who just spoke, appear at the committee, and that didn't happen.
Okay, thank you. So it has been moved and seconded. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. So the designations as recommended by the committee have been approved by council. We'll now move on then to item 6.3. This is an item that's referred from a special planning committee earlier this afternoon. The item was referred with a potential pending motion on a deferral that Councillor Ioannidis indicated he might be making. There were some questions of Ms. Sinclair on behalf of the applicant, and Ms. Sinclair, if you want to come forward and share what you learned during the break. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening again. So I've had the opportunity to speak with our client as well as the group from Grand River Rocks and actually the owners of May King as well. So it was a productive period of time. So I'll start with the affordable housing question first. So our clients at this early stage, they're comfortable committing up to 32 units as affordable. I know it may not be the number council wanted to hear, but we are so far out that they're uncomfortable committing to more than that, but they are willing to commit to those 32 units. They are absolutely in agreement to meet with the Grand River Rocks group. I've got the contact information from the primary spokesperson today. I've offered to be the one to facilitate that meeting to make sure it happens. I think that it goes beyond just meeting between now and when council makes a decision. What I've suggested to the client, and they've agreed, is that we provide sort of ongoing updates to the group in terms of, I know we've heard tonight the concerns from their group about the vague timelines, and those vague timelines really are because there's just so many unknowns. But what we've committed and what I've committed to do is just be that point person that I can contact them when things become more known. Like, for example, when we start the RSC process or when we're preparing to submit a site plan application. So I've let the Grand River Group know that we're very open and agreeable to doing that, and my client's in agreement as well. What they also can commit to is that nothing happening on this site within that first 5 years of the lease in terms of any demolition or starting construction. So they're comfortable with that, and I've talked to Grand River Rocks to say if we need to get that formalized in some way, that's something we can discuss when we meet. In terms of the parking question and using the space, I think the concern, I'm anticipating the concern of the city will be anytime we reduce parking, usually there's an obligation for us to do a parking justification study that then gets reviewed, and that takes, if that was to be updated to do this, that takes a number of weeks to prepare, and then it needs to be reviewed by the city. And in this case, that report was also reviewed by the region, so it's not something we can really have an answer on quickly. But I think the bigger concern is, my understanding is Grand River Rocks themselves will require parking, and a fairly considerable amount of parking at sort of a free cost. And this would be confirmed in discussions with them, but that's my understanding. And the cost to construct parking underground or in a podium, as opposed to surface parking like the existing site, is anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000 a stall. So we're looking at potentially millions of dollars to build parking that's then being given to a commercial tenant for free. I'm not the pro forma person on the project, but it would have considerable challenges making that work in a project like this. There's a reason why the commercial parking and the visitor are shared, and while I think that there's a possibility it could work space-wise, I don't know what their terms would be in terms of working into the new building, and that's I guess a continued discussion that we're open to having. What I did say to the clients is if there is a way to incorporate them in the new design and we need to come back in the future to vary parking or things like that to make it work, then they're obviously in support of that. So I think it'll be continued dialogue with Grand River Rocks Group, and then as well with the owners of May King. They had some questions about construction and things like that, so we've agreed to just meet with them and go through any concerns they have and make sure as well that they're updated down the road when we get closer to the point of constructing this. So those are my updates. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to respond as best as I can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sinclair. There are some questions. Councillor Singh.
Yeah, more of a question comment, Andrea. I always knew there was a reason why you were my favorite planner, but the fact that you came back with 32 units, I think that in itself explains exactly that reason. So that's 1,000 units is the projected number of units on that count?
It's approximately that. So this works out to about 3%.
Right, that's exactly what I was trying to get at. And that 3%, I think, is a higher threshold for inclusion for affordable housing than perhaps even along our MTSA areas. So the fact that they are already outlining a higher inclusion rate where they don't have to, and this council asked, and I'm glad I asked that question. That still sets me behind a number of affordable units from Councillor Davey, but it makes me catch up a little bit. I appreciate that fact that you engage with the proponent and again pass on the comments to the proponent as well, their willingness to accept. And I'm fully satisfied about the 5-year ability to, at least for the business to operate. I think that's more than sufficient. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Ioannidis.
Thank you, Ms. Sinclair, and that's really, really great news so far from such a short turnaround, so that's really, really great. I still still want to put forward the deferral for, I would say, and the reason why I want to put that deferral forward is because I still feel like there's a bit of a transition period, but when the 5-year period, when it comes up to the lease agreement, whether or not there's something there that can be worked out. And I mean, there's no legalities or anything that I can force anyone to do. I just would like to see, because I think the Grand River Rocks is something that the community is. It's a great community, and I would hate to see it go and not be replaced or anything like that, or find a home. So I would hope that there's some sort of workarounds for a transition period, and that's where I would like to see.
So from a timing perspective, are you going with the suggestion from earlier, which is that we would have a special meeting next week sometime prior to the 19th?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your motion?
Yes.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Michaud, but I still will allow people to talk before I go to Councillor Davey, and I know you weren't here earlier, so go ahead.
Yeah, I was able to catch some of the meeting live streamed, but I just had one question then, probably for staff then, based on the deferral. So my understanding is, like, what is our ability to, I guess, enforce any agreements that are made outside of regular planning rules? So for example, if they were to come back and say that they would do something with the lease or something along those lines, is that something that the City of Kitchener can enforce?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Sinclair is making the commitment on behalf of the owner this evening. She did offer that the owner would follow up in writing. We would not be able to enforce any of those agreements as they are outside of our jurisdiction, but I would say that a commitment in writing as well as an oral commitment this evening would be beneficial should those arrangements change over time, should there be a dispute through the normal avenue that's outside of our jurisdiction. So it would be in Grand River Rock's benefit to have that commitment in writing. In writing, which we do not have, we have the oral commitment, we do not have the commitment in writing at this point. We don't have it in writing, no, not at this point. That's helpful, thank you.
Councillor Singh.
So yeah, I was going to ask that clarity as well. So because we don't have that in writing, so our staff saying that it may be prudent just to have maybe a short timeline deferral to be able to get that contract in writing? Or is staff comfortable with the verbal commitment?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would suggest that maybe if Ms. Sinclair could arrange with her client to provide an email in writing, and then maybe a more formal letter could follow, and that way we would be able to have that in writing this evening.
Ms. Sinclair, is that something that you think is feasible for you to be able to get that commitment through email exchange?
To have it tonight? I think so. I can probably cut out and call and just ask them to put that in there on the 5-year commitment.
To be clear, there is a motion on the floor to defer it, and I mean, that's...
Again, if I can ask a question regarding that referral, we gave commentary and asks to the applicant, and the applicant has come back with pretty much an answer to all of them, and generally in favor of what we asked. So to Councillor Ioannidis, who's asking for a deferral still, is saying that the 5-year, are you saying the 5-year is not sufficient?
So, Councillor Singh, I mean, I'm giving a little bit of latitude to allow people to make comments and questions, but at this point, we're really at a point of there's a motion. Really, we should only be debating date and time, and it was at the call of the mayor prior to the 19th is the motion. So if you can focus on that.
Well, I was looking for clarification for the rationale regarding the deferral, but you're saying if debate's not allowed?
Well, I think, procedurally that's correct, but what Councillor Ioannidis said in making the motion was that there still needed to be some dialogue between, in his view, between the applicant and the city, and that's what the purpose of the deferral is and the timing.
Okay.
Councillor Davey on timing?
Yeah, I didn't make a comment, but I guess if I can't, then I would just move that I would amend the deferral timing to later this evening, so staff can receive the written confirmation and we can debate it.
Okay. Is there a seconder? Okay. So I will take the motion to defer later this evening. I'm not sure how that will allow for conversation between the applicant and the tenant, but council can deal with that. So all those in favor of later this evening? Those opposed? Motion fails. Motion for deferral to a meeting being called prior to the 19th. Those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll let you know when that meeting is as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see some other delegations in the room because we have to go back into caucus. I just want to make sure if I need to hear you for an item, I have an opportunity to do that. What are you here for?
The Bram Street parking.
Bram Street parking. Okay, then, and have you registered as a delegation or?
Just here to listen.
Okay. I will, since you are here, I'll deal with that motion. Councillor Chapman, I'll come to you, please. Go ahead. Go ahead, Councillor Chapman.
Okay, so I presume you just want me to read the operative clauses at the end right now and then speak to it?
Yep.
Okay, therefore be it resolved that the Bram Street surface parking lot fee structure revert to the model that was in place prior to January 2024 on a temporary basis pending further review in 2024. Therefore be it further resolved that the 5 to 6 p.m. weekday evenings and Saturday daytime free parking economic development property tax subsidy within the Kitchener downtown business improvement area boundary be reviewed, considered in 2024. And therefore be it finally resolved that a parking rate structure be considered as part of the 2025 budget, which balances fair market value for parking, the financial viability of the parking enterprise, and efficient use of taxpayer funds to support downtown economic development goals.
Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor O'Dooney, thank you. Do you want to speak to it, Councillor Chapman?
Yeah, I just want to say that I have been working with staff to try and come up with a workable solution to this. And we've agreed that if we took the parking fees back to where they were pre-January 1st, 2024, that should satisfy the expectations of the residents, because when you moved into those units, that's what the fees would have been. So that's what's being proposed here. And staff, as I said, is on side with this and helped me come up with this this motion. And I do want to thank the residents for bringing this to our attention. And yeah, I hope that the others are willing to support this.
Okay, Councillor Chapman.
Oh, and there will be a review. The staff is proposing a review over the next year to look at all of the surface parking in the downtown and the BIA areas. So to bring things into a workable fashion.
No, for sure, and I appreciate that, and I know that was on staff's work plan to look at the issue of the parking enterprise overall and how it's functioning and if some adjustments need to be made. Just one question, just for clarity. When you say to revert back to the model prior to January 2024, so basically it's monthly charging during the days, Monday to Friday, but the evenings and the weekends would not be charged? Is that what you're saying?
No, there'd be charges for parking Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay.
And so it's free on Sunday and it's free in the evenings after 5.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarity. Councillor Davey.
Yeah, thank you. Just a question of staff.
Okay. Mr. Cronkite, if you can come down, please.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a simple question. It's timely too, because later in the evening we'll be discussing the city's financial position. We're in a surplus overall, but I did notice that parking is in a $1.6 million deficit. So I guess just wanted to clarify. I appreciate Councillor Chapman said she'd worked with staff, but is staff supportive of the motion before us?
Mr. Cronkite. So through the mayor, as Councillor Chapman has alluded to, she did work with staff to come up with this motion. This does put things back into generally the same position while we review the economic development subsidy and get a better understanding of what we're going to do with the parking enterprise moving forward. So we're supportive of the position.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? I will be supporting Councillor Chapman on this issue. You know, parking has been through all sorts of different permutations over my time on council, both as a service, then as an enterprise. I think in that time period there was maybe a little bit of combinations of things, and I think we are due for a review because a lot of things are changing, both in the downtown and in the area of Grand River Hospital as well, which is really where we have the majority of our parking enterprise at present. I think this is a reasonable solution in the meantime until that work gets done and addresses some of the concerns of the neighborhood. You know, recognizing at the end of the day, you know, to be frank, I mean, the city can't be in the long run, in my view, in the business of providing parking for the condos and the residences that are getting built. And so, you know, that's going to be something that we're going to have to look at and debate as part of that review and ultimate, you know, policy around that going forward. But in the meantime, going back to this, I think makes some sense until that work is done. So it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, thank you very much for coming in. Motion to recess back into caucus, moved by Councillor O'Dooney, seconded by Councillor Schneider. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried, and we will come back later. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your patience. Welcome back to the council meeting on Monday, April the 8th, 2024. We'll now resume the meeting with item 7.1 on today's agenda, Heritage Kitchener report from April the 2nd. And Councillor Michaud, if I can ask you to bring those items forward, please.
Yes, it has been moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Deb Chapman that the report of Heritage Kitchener dated April 2nd, 2024, listed as items 7.1A and 7.1B on the agenda this date be adopted.
Thank you. Any discussion? Not. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We'll now move on to 7.2, Community and Infrastructure Services Committee. Councillor Johnson, if you can bring forward the balance of the report, please. Click in. And it's right in front of you. But there you go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just take me a little second here to find it. Oh, I don't see it in my email.
7.2.A to 7.2.I.
Oh, then I already did it. Okay, it is being moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dave Schneider, that the report of the Community and Infrastructure Services Committee dated March 25th, 2024, listed as items 7.2.A to 7.2.I on the agenda this date be adopted.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That too is carried. Moving on to 7.3, the Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee. Sorry, Councillor Singh. Go ahead.
Thank you. And the items as noted in the agenda arising from the Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee from March 25th, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chapman. And again, for the notice, the item number 8 has already been dealt. April 8th meeting item has already been dealt with. So it's just March 25th, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chapman.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Unfinished business, we've dealt with Councillor Chapman's motion already. New business. Mayoral business and updates. I think the only thing I will share here is for those who are interested tomorrow, the Region of Waterloo is bringing forward their housing strategy, and that is coming forward. I'll let you know what the time is. I can't remember right now what time that one is starting tomorrow, but I'll send you an email for those who might want to watch, and that's coming forward tomorrow. And that, as you know, has been about a year in the making. Okay, item 10, questions and answers. Item 11, bylaws, first and second reading of the bylaws. Madam Clerk, are there any additional late starters?
There are 2 under the late starter bylaw. My apologies with the deferral. Those actually are not coming forward today. So item 11.2A and 11.2B are no longer required. So they will be removed and added to the agenda for next week.
Oh, 11.2A and B, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. So it's been moved by somebody? Councillor Deneau, second by Councillor Michaud. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. It's been moved by Councillor Chapman that we resolve ourselves into Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Councillor Chapman, over to you.
So can I get a mover for the committee member appointments as recommended by staff? Councillor Stretch? And all those in favor? Good. There's one information item, or I guess we have to move the other administrative reports? No, okay. There's one information item. Are there any questions?
So you just need a motion first to move it out of information?
Okay. Moved by Councillor Davey. All those in favor? Go ahead.
Yeah, Oh, sorry, thank you. Yeah, I just didn't want to let this slide without, it's for information item, but I hate that we don't speak about it, especially within the context. This is the variance report for year end, and this represents the 9th year, at least according to these records, that the City of Kitchener has posted a surplus, with the exception of the 2 COVID years, which even then were backstopped by the government, so those 2 don't really count. So I'm calling it 9 straight years. I think it's important to acknowledge it because these things do not happen by accident. It's very careful management by our staff, and it's also some discipline by this council as well, right? So again, when it comes to budgeting, the actual target is to come in at 0, but if you're not going to come in at 0, you definitely want to be in a surplus position. So again, thank you and congratulations to staff and council on this.
Actually, it's probably worthwhile noting that the local taxpayer group that rates all of our respective councils gave us more of a thumbs up than a number of the other councils on that front. So I think that's kudos to this council and to our staff team that have been doing a lot of great work in that space.
Okay.
Sorry, I jumped in there.
No, not a problem. Any other comments or questions? No? Thank you. Okay, so to the clerk, can you advise if there are any other matters arising from caucus?
There is one matter arising from today, and it will be shown on the screen.
Do I have to read it? Okay, can I get a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Davey, are there any questions or comments? All those in favour? And the motion is carried.
Move that the committee rise and report.
All those in favour? Opposed? That carries. It's been moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Deneau that the proceedings and the recorded pecuniary interests and conflicts taken in the meeting of the Committee of the Whole held this date as attached hereto and forming part of these minutes be and the same are hereby adopted and confirmed. All those in favour?
Opposed? That's
Passed.
carried.
Carried. Thank you.
Okay, third reading of the bylaws with the noted bylaws that have been removed for this week. And there's nothing else, correct, Madam Clerk? Nope. So moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Deneau. All those in favour? Opposed? That's carried. We are in Game 6 of the Rangers tomorrow night, correct? And then Game 7 on Wednesday? No, right, sorry. Yes, no Game 7s. We're in Game 6 and we're going to win tomorrow night in Erie. Okay, so go Rangers, go. And with that, motion to adjourn, Councillor Michaud, Councillor Schneider, all those in favor, opposed, that's carried. Thank you very much, everyone.